Welcome everyone. Thank you guys for joining us. Go ahead and drop some fire in the chat. Let me know if you guys can hear us pretty well or if there's any echoing going on. How's the sound coming in? Can you guys hear? Awesome. Okay. Let us begin. Hi everyone. Hi my tribal family. For those of you who are not familiar, today we're going to be covering tribal enrollment step by step, tribal citizenship procedure for the Xi-Amaru Republic. To introduce myself, my name is Nnakina Xi-Amaru Fears. I am the chief of the Xi-Amaru Republic. I'm also the CEO of Aboriginal Ministry of Justice, and I will be your host today. And when it comes to the Xi-Amaru Republic, we are our people, I will say, are considered, and this is what we know of ourselves, this is who we identify as. We are in Isaiah 58:12, I think is the best way to put it. Your people will rebuild the ancient ruins and will raise up the age-old foundations. You will be called repairers of broken walls, restorer of streets with dwellings. This is the best explanation when it comes to who we are. We are the Shamaru, people of the Americas. We are considered the pyramid builders of the Americas when it comes to our history. We experienced what we called denationalization, genocide and denationalization, which basically means that we lost our heritage and culture due to the impact of colonization. And now we are utilizing our indigenous rights to be able to repair the damage that was caused due to those events. That being said, before we, my bad, getting into the objectives for this presentation, my goal is for you guys to understand the needs or the need for enrollment. What does this mean? Is basically you will be learning why the Xi-Amaru Republic enrollment process exists, including the impact of the misclassification of Indigenous people such as Black within the Americas. Once I'm finished here, you should understand how this process restores self-determination and corrects misclassification as Black. The other objectives that I have today is for you guys to recognize or understand what dual political status is. So you should gain clarity on the dual recognition you received through Xi-Amaru Republic citizenship and the Indian Citizenship Act of 1924. And you should also see how ADRIP and UNDRIP affirms these rights under international law. Meaning, when we talk about ADRIP, we are referring to the American Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People, and UNDRIP, which stands for the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People, which is the foundational framework that we use, international frameworks that we use to exercise our rights lawfully within the lands that we dwell. And number 3, we will be defining key terms so that you guys have clarity when we are referring to certain terms. So you will learn the definition of misclassified individuals, misnomer Blacks, Xi-Amaru Native Americans, and Xi-Amaru lineage. Also, the goal is for you guys to understand how these terms connect to nationality and citizenship within the Xi-Amaru Republic. Also, you guys will follow the enrollment pathway. Depending on time, we may have to do another part, but we will see. But we will be covering the enrollment pathway, basically, which is a walk step by step through tribal screening, requirements, outcomes, timelines, and policies, and also review the citizenship procedure, application fees, document issues, and processing times, so that those of you who may be interested in addressing your status understand step by step what you need to do. And then 5, you guys will know what to expect after recognition, understanding what happens when citizenship is granted, documents, registry, things of that nature. Also, you will understand or learn how to update political status with the state and federal agencies, like how you should be interacting with the other jurisdiction when it comes to once you complete your citizenship procedure. And 6, accept rights and responsibilities. You will know how to identify the rights of a Xi-Amaru Native American or Xi-Amaru citizen, legal recognition, tax exemptions, participation in governance. You'll also be able to understand or what this requires when it comes to accepting the responsibilities, meaning upholding the Constitution, contributing materially and morally, and documenting status properly. And lastly, you will know how to connect spiritually and generationally, meaning recognize this process as more than paperwork. It's a spiritual restoration and the fulfillment of ancestral prayers. And see how enrollment secures a future of identity, protection, and opportunities for generations to come. And again, I just want to confirm you guys can hear me. Go ahead and drop some fire in the comments. Let me know that you guys are able to hear us good. Okay. Part 1, why this process matters. Colonial status across the Americas. Colonization impact. So before we get into the steps of the citizenship procedure and understanding how to join, I think it's important for our people to understand what it actually means and how did this even come about. So before we even get to that part, we're going to be covering, making sure that you guys understand everything regarding this matter. So 1, colonial status across the Americas. What do we mean from here? Is that across the Americas, North, Central, South America, and the Caribbean, colonial and post-colonial systems misclassified indigenous peoples. Different countries use different words. Some people say black, negro, colored, Afro-descendant. The exact label may have varied, but the purpose was always the same and is the same: to erase our indigenous nationality, to limit our autonomy, and to force our people into foreign systems. So this is what we're talking about when it talks about forced assimilation, meaning that you are not able to express or be within a society that recognize you or understand you, is the best way to put it. You're just forced into adjusting your way of life. So that's what the impact of colonization did to our people. Many people don't quite understand, when it comes to our people, the fact that we are indigenous people because they have been educated. Well, they consider it education, but we know it's miseducation. And they don't quite understand who we are because of forced assimilation. So what we're doing now is bringing this information and bringing the awareness of who we are as indigenous people in the lands. Again, our process is not to talk about the impact of all indigenous people. It's specifically concerning Xi-Amaru people within the Americas. We are not here to argue who else is indigenous. We're just here to speak our story. And that is what we do within the Xi-Amaru Republic. The U.S. jurisdiction, the 14th Amendment in Amexa. So keep in mind, guys, when we talk about Amexa, that is the term that we use for the Americas. And specifically, we will be talking about the misclassification block within the United States. Here in the United States, which we call Amexa, like I said, This misclassification was forced through the 14th Amendment in 1868. The 14th Amendment made all persons born here, specifically U.S. citizens, and also what it has done is people who were not specifically born within a territory, also they give that classification to, since, well, since things have progressed. But in the beginning, this is what it was created for, to grant slave people who were misclassified as slaves the ability to have a type of status, but with no recognition of their indigenous nationality and no right to self-determination. So basically, you had to choose between who you were and who, like, to be a part of the society. This was the effect. This becomes a political status for Blacks from the Americas within the US system. Okay, so when we talk about Black or a Black person specifically, sometimes even when it comes to people who are not directly born into this particular region, they also receive that misclassification. But we're here to basically explain that the classification of Xi-Amaru, Black from the Americas, is pretty much the same. Outside of the US, in Central America, South America, the Caribbean, the exact laws and categories look a little different, but the outcome was the same everywhere and is the same everywhere. The nationalization, the loss of sovereignty, meaning the ability to be autonomous and be able to have governance over yourself and your people, the forced assimilation of indigenous people into colonial or post-colonial jurisdiction. No matter what they called us, the effect was always ensured um, ensure erasure of the true identity. This is why so many people feel confused when it comes to their identity. They don't necessarily identify within the systems that they're in because, and the closest thing for a long time that our people could relate to was some type of the African culture. It was the closest thing that we could understand. But what we now know, understanding Indigenous rights and the impact of colonization on the effects of the Americas, we now understand that we have the ability to address these issues head on. So, like I said, they all produce the same results: loss of nationality, denied, denial of autonomy, confusion, assimilation into foreign jurisdiction. No matter where an individual is, or where an individual within the region of the Americas reside. Unless you're in the Caribbeans um, has a different type of experience because they do have systems that reflect them. Now, depending on how the people show up in the society, it may vary on the experience, but for the most part, those of the people who have experienced European colonization and Spaniard or Spain colonization, you experience this issue specifically. So, a good example of this is I am someone who a lot of times people are confused because they know that I was born in Honduras. And a lot of times they automatically assume that I must have been brought up here because of the way I speak or because of the way I carry myself, even though that is not the case. Because the reality is, Honduras is a Spaniard um, jurisdiction, it's a Spanish system. So, however, when it comes to my experience, I always tell people, like, no, I didn't learn English because I came to the United States. It's actually my first language. And Spanish is actually my second language, and it's actually a language that I struggle with. Even though I can speak Spanish, I always say it's like I'm like 82% good in Spanish. But it just shows the effect. And this is why I think, for a long time, my journey into this information was to be able to bring awareness that this is not just a national issue, this is an international issue that our people face, regardless of the location that they're in. The results, like I said, is the same. They don't know who they are, even though they don't know anything else. They just repeat what has been said, and this is why, these process is so important, because we want to make sure that this issue does not continue anymore. The Xi-Amaru solution, the Xi-Amaru Republic. The Xi-Amaru solution exists to correct this issue. It is for Indigenous people of the Americas, North, Central, South, and the Caribbean who live within the United States jurisdiction, as we call AMEXA. Our process restores nationality and citizenship. It corrects the misclassification of Black, and it provides a lawful administrative pathway for autonomy and self-government. Through the Xi-Amaru Republic, you are restored as who you truly are, Xi-Amaru Native American. This is all about making sure that our people have a system that understands them, their way of life, their way of being. The issue is what we have seen is because of colonization, a lot of people assume that, they see themselves as different, or they don't quite understand how to be. And as someone, we may not have every experience alike as a group, but the experience within the damage of colonization definitely stripped us it has the same effect. This is why it's not just about one particular area, it's about everyone. And the reality is, this is something that is needed throughout the Americas, even though right now we are specifically focusing on the United States, well, the United States of America. And but the reality is this is a solution not just for here. This is a solution for all of our people who have been struggling and being misplaced or misclassified. However, when it comes to us here within the United States of America, we do have dual political status that you get with the Xi-Amaru Republic citizenship. This means that one, through this basically through this process, you receive dual political recognition. So first, you are a Xi-Amaru Native American under our Constitution with full nationality and citizenship within the Xi-Amaru Republic. Secondly, under the Indian Citizenship Act of 1924, you are also recognized as a Native American within the U.S. law. And then 3, it removes the 14th Amendment limitations. The 14th Amendment limitation is, well, most people get confused when they hear this conversation, but it's basically what limits misclassified Blacks to be able to participate in what we do, which is self-governance. So before a person can fully operate in autonomy, they have to address their status. This is what we talk about. You hear people say status correction, status correction. However, the issue with that is they have been miseducated in regards to this matter, because they consider, I always say, I think the enemy goal was to create a lot of confusion before we got to this point to prevent our people from progressing. But we are here now. But to make it simple, the 14th Amendment limitations in this land is what creates a barrier for our people to fully operate in expression of self within the jurisdiction. So this is why status correction must be done properly. No, you cannot go to the same system and try to correct your status. That's been a big um, error that many people have done, is they try to think of it like this. I'm going to give you guys an example. Think of someone. coming from China, right? And that person is like they run into us and maybe they book an appointment at Aboriginal Ministry of Justice.org and they start to speak, they speak with me or someone else from our team and we're telling them, about our government, what we do. And they're like, yeah, 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 that's cool. I understand what you're saying. You guys are an indigenous jurisdiction government. That's okay. But guess what? I'm Chinese. I want you guys to go ahead and issue me Chinese documentation so that I can show the world that I am a Chinese person. So, can I get a Chinese driver's license from you? Can I get a Chinese ID from you? Can I get Chinese paperwork from you? And literally, that would throw up an error in our system because that's not what it's designed to do. So that's the issue when it comes to people who are trying to address their status through the other jurisdiction is they don't understand that you cannot go back to where you were damaged. And this is why indigenous rights are so important because literally a lot of time by ignorance, people are literally asking for the same thing that they're complaining about to be done again, just in what they think is different. So no, you can't go to another system because the other jurisdiction is not designed to address indigenous status. That's really what it comes down to. It's not designed for that. So this is why it's important to educate yourself properly concerning governments and how they communicate. And that's really what we work to do is making sure that our people have a proper way to communicate within society. So that comes down to number 4, which is it protects rights under both jurisdiction. So our people have the ability to be within society and be respected as Xi-Amaru Native Americans. So that's that's why the Xi-Amaru Republic is a solution to these damage that has been done. Part 2 about the Xi-Amaru Republic. So, for those of you who are not aware, the Xi-Amaru Republic was founded December 17, 2022. We separated from another jurisdiction, another indigenous jurisdiction, which is called the Xi-Amaru tribal government. So keep in mind that there's 2 types of jurisdiction. The Xi-Amaru tribal government is also known as ARNA, which stands for the Aboriginal Republic of North America. That is what we separated from. So that is why we have the name Xi-Amaru. However, the Xi-Amaru Republic is a separate jurisdiction. So make sure you are aware of that when you are considering joining our nation because we don't want you to end up confused. Now, however, you can choose to go to anyone or any jurisdiction. We're not the only one doing this. However, we are considered the leaders in actually advocating for our people. So, just something to know. So, that being said, our Constitution was ratified April 28, 2024. And what does this mean is that we are an indigenous tribal government. So we don't talk about just being a tribe. You hear people say, make your tribe or be, like, how do you join a tribe? We're not we're a tribe by nation because we are a group, but our system itself is a tribal government and it operates as an Indian country within the land. So a lot of times people get confused with governments because they see the government itself as the whole country, not understanding that it's the system that operates within the land. So the thing about it is how we can do this is that there's 2 types of systems that can lawfully operate within the Americas, depending on the region that you're in. So you have well, in our case, you have the federal government and then you have indigenous governments. Those are the only 2 lawful systems that can be in the land. Of course, the federal government, which is the most popular government or system that many people are aware of, it's it's there because, they did what they did, so they occupy, but also because of ADRIP, we understand that now indigenous communities and indigenous people have the right to also self-govern and can lawfully do and protect their people as well, which is what we do, which is restore governance, law, and cultural identity to our people. Okay. Mm. The Xi-Amaru Republic vision. It's important to understand that just because we are a system that's available to Indigenous people, it doesn't necessarily mean that we would be a good fit for you, depending on what it is you're trying to do within, you know, your life. We may not be a good fit. So it is possible to consider another jurisdiction or whoever else may be offering. But when it comes to the Xi-Amaru Republic specifically, our vision is to build a resilient and autonomous Xi-Amaru nation rooted in God, knowledge, and guided by principles of justice, unity, and respect. We envision a future where our people are fully recognized, full sustaining, self-sustaining, and able to exercise their rights on an equal footing within the global community. The Xi-Amaru Republic seeks to serve as a model of Indigenous governance, setting a precedent for cultural integrity, sustainable development, and a harmonious coexistence. So if you are not in alignment with this vision, we don't recommend you do a tribal screening. We don't recommend that you pursue joining us because if you want Indigenous status, there's another system similar to ours that offers that. But our vision is very clear on how we look to operate within the land. When it comes to the Xi-Amaru Republic mission, the mission of the Xi-Amaru Republic Indigenous government is to empower and protect the rights, heritage, and well-being of the Xi-Amaru people. We are committed to promoting self-determination, cultural preservation, and social and economic prosperity through sustainable governance, legal autonomy, and community-centered initiatives. We aim to create a thriving environment where our citizens can flourish and contribute positively to society. If you don't remember anything else from our mission on, especially if you are a Xi-Amaru citizen, when it comes to us protecting you, you have to make sure that we are all contributing positively to society. This is not a rebellion. This is not us being upset anyone. This is just us exercising our rights to be a people in unity with the society that we're a part of and contributing to that society in a positive way. If that's not your mission, if you're a individual who's just angry at the world, then unfortunately we wouldn't be a good fit because that is not something that we tolerate within our jurisdiction. We are looking to create a society where our people can be proud of who they are, and we are here to protect that. So we when an individual joins our nation, that is what they're entrusting us to do. So if someone is trying to disrupt that, we will always look to protect our people because the mission is for us to have a positive impact on society and be able to be ourselves. So and this is the thing, guys. A lot of times people think that you have to defend yourself from the outside world, but the reality is, as a system, that means we defend our people not just from the outside, but from the inside. Meaning that there's people who may look like us and who may be completely against us as well. So it's not about just being a Xi-Amaru. So just because you see someone with the Xi-Amaru name doesn't mean that they actually are a part of the Xi-Amaru Republic. Because if you're a part of the Xi-Amaru Republic, this means that you are in alignment with our vision, our mission, and our constitution. And if that doesn't align with you and you joined before you knew these things, then feel free to reach out to our team so that you are able to ask to be removed and we will issue a final judgment. And that way you will have no responsibility to uphold these um, things. Okay. Key definitions, guys. So when it comes to our jurisdictions, there are terms that you guys should be familiar with. Misclassified individual is one of those, which is those whose true identity was erased by colonial systems. In another term, you can say are people who indigenous ancestry was erased. Oh, sorry, I am repeating myself. That is exactly what I just said. Okay, my bad, y'all. Long day at work. But anyways, and then we have misnomer black or blacks, which is indigenous Americans who were labeled black during, because of post-colonial effects, losing recognition of their nationality. So it's basically an individual within the Americas who is labeled black. Okay. So whenever we say misnomer black, meaning that you can be a Xi-Amaru Native American and your family still be a misnomer black person. Okay. So that's important to understand. This is why, because again, when it comes to protecting an individual, they have to be a Xi-Amaru Native American. Our system cannot protect misnomer blacks. We only can protect Xi-Amaru Native Americans. And what is a Xi-Amaru Native American by definition is a recognized citizen or recognized citizens of the Xi-Amaru Republic, meaning it refers to those of our lineage who are recognized as citizens of the Xi-Amaru Republic. This is so you're not another tribal name. You're not a what do some people I see they be calling themselves like some people have an issue with the term native. So then they're like, well, this means that. We don't care what it means outside of us when it comes to how we identify specifically, because again, we have a right to self determination. We call our people who are part of our system Xi-Amaru Native Americans. That's a term that we use, and that will be the term. Now, if you're uncomfortable with that and you want to call yourself a Xi-Amaru indigenous person, well, that's fine, but politically, that's not your political status. Your political status is Xi-Amaru Native American if you are a part of our jurisdiction. And then Xi-Amaru lineage, genealogical and cultural thread to indigenous ancestry of the Americas, which is that it connects our people back to our indigenous ancestry. So even so, keep in mind a misnomer black person can be of Xi-Amaru lineage. However, we will not know that fully until they actually complete a tribal screening. That is why our screening is a part of the process. It's to help us understand who, if an individual experienced genocide and denationalization, meaning that they lost their culture and their heritage, therefore they are able to join our nation and be able to exercise their rights and pursue citizenship in our jurisdiction. Our purpose. The purpose of the Xi-Amaru Republic is to restore indigenous identity, to protect our rights to heritage, and to protect and to provide lawful recognition to our people, business opportunities. And through this, we open opportunities for business formation, governance participation, and protection under law, ensuring that our people are no longer misclassified or erased. So, the whole point is we want to make sure that as our people continue to progress in this world and in society, that they have a system that is looking out to preserve their history, preserve who they are, preserve their advancement and development. And this is why we exist. Our jurisdiction, we operate as an Indian country under our constitution. Our jurisdiction is supported by international law, including the American Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People, also known as ADRIP, and the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People, UNDRIP. Both affirms our right to self-determination, to recognition of our own political system, and to restore what was taken. So for those of you who have been on the fence and not really understanding if this is a something that you should do and hide your head, no, we do not operate by hiding. We lawfully show up and protect our people and communicate with other jurisdictions to defend them, and we have the lawful right to do that. Okay, and I do encourage you to look into those declarations because they will help empower you to understand whether you are in right standing or not when it comes to how you are operating within the land. Nationality and citizenship. So, nationality, which has been the most confusing thing for some reason to people, But nationality basically is the identity by heritage or birthright that someone has. However, citizenship is a legal recognition requiring enrollment within our jurisdiction. So, understanding the difference between the two, in other words, nationality is who you are by bloodline, your heritage, your lineage, your identity, meaning that if you are connected to people who went through genocide and denationalization and it happened within the Americas, by nationality, you would be considered a Xi-Amaru. However, citizenship is when you formally register that nationality under law, gaining the rights, responsibilities of being a part of a self-governing nation. So our process moves you from nationality to citizenship recognition. So a lot of people end up scared of the term citizenship because of how things have been done in the past to the people. So this has become like a almost like a trigger word for many people. But now that we understand it's not something to fear, it's just making sure that we are contracting properly within society in a way that protects us. So we shouldn't be afraid of citizenship. It's just now understanding that I'll say this. When it comes to citizenship, the reality is our people have been, let's just say we understand that the world is a dangerous place, right? And we've been going around being foster children to other systems. I think this is the best way to put it. What does this mean is for a long time, we've been getting like being placed in foster care. And this is not to knock foster parents. This is just a general example I'm giving. But we've been bouncing around house to house, right? And not feeling like we belong anywhere. So this is why, sometimes we see our people are fighting for rights, they're fighting for equality, all of these things, fighting against discrimination, and it's like no one's hearing you, right? And this is why you have to understand because think of yourself, okay, I want you to think of your rights, which are God given, right? As your internal organs, and your rib cage is there to protect those. So everyone has those. But now you live in a dangerous zone, right? There's there's shots being fired. Everything's going on here and there. It's just dangerous where you're at. And for a long time, every other group has been, you know what, this is a dangerous world. Let me go ahead and suit up. Let me put on my bulletproof vest. Let me, gear up to make sure that I'm protected when it comes to dealing with this world. However, for us, we're like, you know what? It's okay. I have a rib cage. So is it possible that I can survive a fatal, like being attacked? Yeah, it's possible. And that's how we interact with the world. We know we got rights and we hope that we never face danger, right? Because, the reality is I'm not suited up. So we walk around the world hoping that we never come into any issues. And when it happens, we're like so surprised, even though we understand that the world is a dangerous place. So, this is why citizenship is important because for us to be able to advocate for you, because this is not about if you're going to get into something, it's about when something arises. Do you have the defense in place to protect yourself? And the reality is, for a long time, we didn't. This is why we now have to rejoice in the reality that we can lawfully protect ourselves. We can, just like every other group, suit up and be able to deal with this world correctly. Because the issue is, many people assume, like, that it means that, oh, going through this process means you will never get in any issues ever again. That's the hype that people have been selling when it comes to nationality and status is you just get these magical piece of paper and life will be great. and no one can do anything to you. No one should be able to say anything to you because you have these magic piece of paper. Let me tell you guys something. That is error. The whole point of the paperwork is so that a system can be able to advocate on your behalf with other systems to protect you. That's what our system does. It doesn't mean that it eliminates complete threats. It just means that you have a defense to be able to defend yourself in a way that you've never been able to in the past. So instead of walking around feeling like you have no support and just hoping for the best, whether it's a school, a officer, or whatever the case may be, you have defense. Now, keep in mind, this does not mean you have a license to be reckless. It just means that if you are exercising your rights, you're not causing harm and injury to yourself or others, you are free. Okay? You come together with your people and you exercise governance together and you're free. But if you don't understand that, you're always going to be in error. You're always going to be bouncing around looking for the next thing. So be careful, you guys, when it comes to that, because there's a lot of information going around. I've heard people, oh, you just need to go ahead and, um, what did they say? Just do it yourself. What you guys have to understand is there's a lot of do it yourself methods out there, not because they want you to be free, but it's because they don't want the responsibility of after they receive your money. They want to be able to say, you are now liable for everything. They're not working towards nation building. They're working towards leaving you vulnerable. So this is what separates us from the next hot topic or the next person concerning Indigenous information is we do this in real life. We do this every day. This is not a hobby that we have in a spare time. This is something that we do to make sure that Xi-Amaru Native Americans have a support system in place to be able to protect themselves and their families. Now, part 3, enrollment pathway. Well, we're going to have to do another part. I would say around this time tomorrow, because I actually do have to run, but I'm going to do a part 2 to finish up the tribal enrollment step by step. But I did it this way because I really wanted you guys to understand why this process exists and how it's important for you and your family, and something to consider. But we will get into this tomorrow, which would be September 9th. And go ahead and so make sure you guys are subscribed to our YouTube channel, that you guys are notified when we're on. We are working for those of you who are tribal members. We are considering opening the floor for you guys who are actual citizens. We're just testing this out to see how this goes. If you guys who are tribal members feel like this is a good step forward for our nation where we're bringing you content like this, drop some fire in the comments. Let us know that this is something that you guys want more of. And feel free to leave us comments, reviews, feedback, things that you guys want to hear about, things that you guys, have been needing more clarity on. We want to make sure that we are serving you guys properly. So leave those information in the comment section of this video or on the videos so that we are able to come around and serve you guys. But thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys. I guess I have a couple, I guess I'll open the floor if there's any comments or anything. Let me see what's going on over here. Since we are here, let me see. If you guys want to ask some questions real quick, I would love to go ahead and answer those for you real quick. I'll take about 5 minutes for that. Awesome. Awesome. I see you all in the comments. Hey, tribal family. I see our people in there. Good job. Thank you guys for coming in. Thank you guys for coming in. What do you guys think we should be covering next? Okay, so someone said, so we have defense from being misclassified as Black or African American. Is this what you mean by we have defense? Okay, great question. Great question. So no, that's not what we mean. We actually mean that we have the opportunity to protect our people in a way that we can't if they're misclassified as Black, meaning that our system to be able to exercise the rights that our people have, we have to be under an Indigenous jurisdiction to do that. Meaning that when something arises, let's say an individual, let's say we have a family of four, right? And they are Xi-Amaru Native Americans. They went through their screening, they went through their citizenship, and they are now within our jurisdiction. That means that we have lawful ability to intervene if someone tries to come after that family. A good example of this is kind of using, remember the pandemic, right? Let's say something like that happens again and they're trying to bring mandates and things of that nature towards the population. For our people who are Xi-Amaru Native Americans, we would automatically have a defense because that would apply only for those who are a part of that jurisdiction and that jurisdiction has full control over their people. However, because our people have dual status and because of the indigenous rights that our people have, they are not limited to the orders of that jurisdiction. So I hope that makes sense. I hope that brought some clarity for you guys. So this is why it's important for us to be able to understand why even when, it's so we see it a lot where an individual comes in, they get their document and they have children or they have a spouse and they're just fine, but their family is not protected. So you want to make sure that you're considering this process, especially if you have family, not just for yourself, but make sure you are securing the little ones because what ends up happening is people come to us once something arrives. We're bringing this information to you guys because we want to make sure that you guys are taking the necessary steps before something happens. Because a lot of times, once you step into this realm without your shield, without your defense, now you have us trying to catch up or backtrack something that has happened where if you already were suited up, we can step in. You see what I'm saying? So I hope that makes sense for you guys. I see. Oh, yes, yes. Hey, Francine. She said, thank you for the opportunity to have a blueprint on the way to succeed. Amen. Yes, yes, that's what this is all about, us coming together. But I take no credit. I take no credit because the reality is what our people face within the Americas is this is something that only God could have provided to us. You know, and I think the reality is God heard our prayers. He knew the longing that we had for a system that we could thrive in, we can grow in, we can relate to. It's funny because I think many of us who are in our nation experienced a time where we were proud Africans at one point, right? Because that's like the only thing that we had close enough to represent us to a certain degree. But the beauty about it is God has made a way out of nowhere and He has given us the ability to now come together, those of us who experience these things within the Americas and exercise these rights together and to build on a solid foundation that nothing will be able to break. So we have to make sure we're protecting this. But thank you guys as well for your support. Tribal members, keep in mind that you guys are literally the backbone to our nation. And it is because of you that I'm here. So that being said, keep in mind, guys, we're going to be covering topics coming up about what's the next topic? Well, the next topic is part 3. Well, it's going to be technically part 2, but we'll basically be going over the actual step-by-step enrollment process. So if you've already become a part of the nation, there's still things that I know you may have questions about. So you still want to make sure you tune in for this. It's not just about people who are considering joining, but I want to make sure that that you guys have the information that you need, because the reality is we have been building since then. Once we are citizens, what is the next step? The next step is to live free, meaning your energy is free for you to go ahead and build. That's the whole point, you guys. If you don't remember anything else from this tonight, I want you to remember the whole point is for you to be able to plant and it bring a harvest, meaning that the restriction that you had before, we're here to protect that, meaning that you are able to, as long as you're being an upright person within society, meaning you're not causing harm to yourself or another group or or the people within even our jurisdiction, you are able to pursue the advancement of your family. We want to see our people, and this is why we talk to you guys about establishing businesses, because you have the ability to grow in a way that you couldn't with the restriction. But the Bible says, "My people suffer for lack of knowledge." And I think that's the most one of the most powerful things that you can know, because the reality is he didn't say people who are not his people. He said his people suffer for lack of knowledge. And that's the reality, is a lot of us, and this is why the goal is for you guys to know. This is why we're doing this. I'm a mom of 3, but I'm saying, you know what, I'm gonna find time because I want to see you guys take this and build. This is not just for us to have quote unquote indigenous paperwork. It's for us to go and build and be the repairs of the breach. That is what we're talking about when we talk about who we are. If you guys don't remember, you don't have to remember everything, but what I do recommend you do is you have to know this part. Let me go back. If you can't remember anything else about us, this is who you are as your chief, as well, in this case, considering my people. You need to know Isaiah 58:12. You need to know it. This is who you are. This is what it's about. We are the repairers of the broken walls. We are the restorers of the streets. That's who we are as Xi-Amarus. Don't get confused by the noise. We are here to repair. We are here to rebuild the damages that has happened to our people and rebuild the ancient ruins, not to go back and become who our ancestors were, but to be the evolution of who our people were, to be the joy of what they only couldn't even imagine, to be honest. I don't even think some people, in their past would even be, they would, I, I could only imagine how they would feel to be alive today. And this is why we cannot be sitting on our talents. We cannot be sitting on the skills and the experiences that God has blessed us with. We have to use those things. Bring your experience and your skills to our jurisdiction and plant your seed and build a business that will thrive. You are in your own lane. Don't sit on your hands and wait for everything. Whatever skills you have, that you've been, building up until this point, bring it, use it. People are looking for you. But how will they find you? I know getting back to that. I know that there's some people who wanted to go ahead and I know some of you guys want to do merch and things of that nature, which was something we talked about in previous tribal meetings. The reality is, just to be transparent with those of you who are tribal members, is we've been getting attacked, guys. Okay. Every time we're about to do something for you guys, it's funny because in the Bible, they literally talked about when they were repairing the walls, they had to fight with what, with a shovel and a sword in one hand. Like, that's how we are over here. Like, the enemy does not want you guys to have this foundation, but guess what? We got something worth fighting for. Okay? We have something worth fighting for, but you guys have to build while we are holding. why we are positioning. If not, then all of this is in vain. You see what I'm saying? If not, me having the title as chief is for nothing. I don't want to just be the chief. I want you guys to grow. You guys have to take these tools and build while we work to protect you. You know, this is why we don't have a tax system yet, because we want to make sure that you guys come in and repair the damage that has been done, meaning that you're able to, because the issue is a lot of times people want to go ahead and, I've learned a dangerous thing. I don't know about you guys, but one of the things that I've learned is it's so dangerous to have people pour into something when they are not secure. This is why I don't believe in community help when it comes to us, not because you have to, because before you pour into anything, meaning anyone's cup, you have to fill your cup. We want you guys to fill your cup. This is why exemption is something that the nation works to protect for you guys when it comes to your jobs. It's not just so that you can say, oh, I'm tax exempt. No, it's because we understand that before you can succeed, you have to be able to pour into your cup. And by the grace of God, you will be able to pour into the nation after that. But if you're not using these things wisely, if you're not taking the time to build yourself, then this nation will not move forward. So you have to make sure that once you go through the process, you're actually understanding that you are here. This is all of our jobs. You understand what I'm saying? You don't have to have a title within a nation to build. Like, we just have these for political reasons so that we're able to communicate with other jurisdiction, but we are all pyramid builders, meaning that we're all repairers of the ancient ruins. And whatever gift you have, whatever God had you doing up until this point, it's not in vain, because the reality is a lot of times we think, oh, I want to escape. No, what did you learn in that last season that's going to be beneficial to this nation? Because I'm not here to do it all. I'm not here to be the scientist. I'm not here to be the all the other things. I don't want to be the doula. I don't want to be everything. I can't be everything. But there's people who are here to be. There's skills that you have already. Of course, I see someone said, are you guys able to make appointments? Yes. Keep in mind, you guys, Monday through Friday, we are here. So you guys can go to Aboriginal Ministry of Justice.org anytime out the week and book an appointment for a weekday, and our team will contact you. We do have team members who are available. I'm not currently the one, but our team, they are great people. They are there to serve you. They look forward to it. And they are, let me go ahead and let me see if I can go ahead and pull this up real quick so you guys know how to get in touch with us. Let me see real quick. Give me 1 second, you guys. Let me know if you guys can let me know if you guys can see. So this is our website, guys. And keep in mind, this is our only website, you guys. Even though we have other government websites that are coming, we do not have another website. Like, if you're going to get service from the Xi-Amaru Republic, you have to go to Aboriginal Ministry of Justice.org at this time. So if you see anyone else offering anything else, that is not us. So be careful out there, because, people are becoming aware and they're trying to do other stuff. But nevertheless, guys, when it comes to just a quick understanding of what goes on here is scroll to the bottom. So you can contact us. So phone information. So if you want to learn how to get in touch with us, this is the best way to get in touch, okay? You can also send us a general information. This does not mean we're gonna call you guys. So if you wanna, this just means we're gonna email you. So if you have any questions about your case or you need an email update or something like that, you can always come to this area and leave and send us a message, and our team will respond typically 1 to 7 days to that. But this is the update. This is our numbers. This is our fax information. So as of now, you guys can still make payments online, but after this month, even though we've been telling you guys for a minute, it is going to change very soon. So if you don't want to have too much difficulties, especially when it comes to getting your stuff done, meaning that you don't have to go send a cashier's check or call in, but we will be moving in that area. So this will be the billing information, but you can still primarily get your services done on the website. But as soon as that is updated, then you will know, because we'll let you basically know that there's no option to do that, so you will have to call in. But for now, this information is something that you should save so that you have access to it when it comes to getting in touch with us. And this is our location, guys. Now keep in mind, when it comes to headquarters, you have to set up an appointment. We don't accept walk-ins just because of the way. Unfortunately, as we do this work, we want to make sure that we are keeping our staff safe and keeping things just cordial and respectful. So you have to make sure that you come in, because you're not going to be served unless you have an appointment. So feel free to call our team using this number, basically our office number, and they will set you up when it comes to coming in the office. The only place we have a walking location, guys, is our Memphis area, which is our headquarters. So keep that in mind. However, if you ever want to get in touch with us, we're not currently accepting mail, but you can mail us here, okay? And at this one. But yeah, guys, but I am looking forward to you guys. So don't forget to subscribe. Make sure that you join us for the other part of the citizenship procedure for tomorrow. You guys have a great night. Thank you guys